Hello guys, welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and the message reads like this. My brother, I am a woman. I have 2 kids. These kids that I had them with different fathers. My story, my brother, it started when I was still in South Africa, and after I had made my money, I came back home. So when I was still in South Africa, I was working at this other restaurant. It is actually a grill and bar. I was working there as a waitress. So whilst I was working there, a lot of guys, they used to come and they would just have a very good time at our restaurant. Then there was this other dude who came one day with his friends. All of them, they were from Zim. And you could see that from the way that they were dressed up, these guys, they had good money. And when we started speaking, and whilst I was busy serving their table, that was when he showed that he had some interest in me. He wanted to date me. And at that time, I was already staying with my husband, whom I had my first child with. But anyway, just to have fun, I said it is okay. We then exchanged numbers, and I said, but please do not call me. I am the one who can call you because I am married. He then said that he was fine, and I just thought that he was going to be my friend, because that is what he said. He said that we can start slowly, we can become friends, then after that we can see if we'll be able to date each other or what. After that, that was when me and my first husband, we had a very big fight, and he was a man who always loved coming back home drunk. He watched a lot of football, and we didn't have a DSTV, so there was this other man in the location where we were staying at that time. He was the only one who had a DSTV that was fully paid, the subscription. So what they used to do is men from Zim, they would go and they would watch TV at his house. This was causing my relationship with my husband to go bad. And whenever I would try to sit down with him, and when I would say, why don't we pay the DSTV subscription and you just watch football indoors with your wife? Then you will start to insult me. And the next thing that happened is that I then started hearing some rumors that whenever they will be there watching their football, since that guy, he was not married and he was a man who loved women, so he would invite some women and they will start to do some funny stuff. And when I confronted my husband about this issue, my husband then said that, yes, indeed, these people, they sometimes bring their girlfriends and they would go into separate rooms and they would be making love. But as for me and some guys, we will be watching TV and just drinking beer. So this was very suspicious to me. I could not believe that my husband can be that honest. And first of all, as someone who was always drunk, I didn't trust him. So I then suspected that he was lying to me, and he was very defensive about it. I then said that it is fine. If you are going to play me, then I am going to play you from you. So already I was speaking with that guy that I had met at the place where I was working as a waitress. I then started dating that guy. First of all, I was doing it in secret. Then I started doing it in the open. And as for my husband, there was nothing that he could do about it, because the thing that I did, I knew that this road that I wanted to travel on, tomorrow it was going to destroy my relationship. When I had chosen to walk on that road of being a cheating wife, I knew that I had to raise up some defenses just in case if my husband was going to find out. And already in that location where I was staying, there were a few women from Zim who were suspected of using some love charms on their husbands, because those women, they would do whatever they wanted to do. Sometimes their boyfriends, they would come and pick them up, and their husbands would not even say anything. So I then started visiting those women. At first, I just pretended as if I was going to borrow some DVDs this story, my brother, it happened back in those days when we still had those DVD players. So after I became friends with those women, that was when I asked for help. I came out into the open and I told one of the ladies, and I said, I have a boyfriend of mine, and this boyfriend of mine, he wants to marry me, but the problem is that I do not want to get married to him, and at the same time I do not want to lose him because he was already dating another local girl, and it seemed as if their relationship and love was really strong. So I wanted to break up their relationship, and I wanted him to be mine only, and at the same time I didn't want to get divorced from my husband because I felt so much pride being called someone's wife, and at the same time I wanted to have my own boyfriend so that whenever my husband will be watching his football and drinking his beer, I'll have my own boyfriend to have fun with. Those women laughed at me and they said that it is fine. They were going to make a plan for me so that I can get those love charms. So the way that I got these charms is that there was some dog poo. This poo, it was powdered dog poo. It was sent from Zim, and it was sent from one of those women's village. It seemed as if she had her own aunt who knew a lot of herbs, so she was the one who sent those items for me. The items that she sent, it was that dog poo that was crushed, and whenever I would be cooking for my husband, I had to sprinkle that powdered dog poo in his meal after I had finished cooking, and I had to place them separately. And on that day when he would be eating, I had to smile at him and I had to pretend as if I was so much in love with him. And me being romantic with him, when I'll be feeding him the dog poo, then it will soften his heart, and whenever he will be somewhere, he will only be thinking about me. After that, that was when I had to do the second step. The second step, my brother, it was the hardest thing for me to do because I had to take my used sanitary pads, and when the blood was still on that pad, then I had to squeeze it in the water, and this water, after I had squeezed it in the water, I had to prepare either tea for him or anything, but not to cook something like soft porridge with it, but it had to be tea or something that you would drink. So what I used to do is that I then developed a habit whereby my husband would knock off at work at 4 p.m. When he would have arrived back home, he would find out that there would be food waiting for him. So I used to give him tea, sometimes with 2 slices of bread and some biscuits. But the water that I would have used, my brother, to prepare his tea, it is that same water that I used to take my sanitary pads when I'll be on my periods. Then I would squeeze those pads so that my period blood can drop into the water. So I kept on feeding him for many, many months, because in between I had to wait for my periods so that I can complete that ritual. After I was done, that was when I saw that my husband was now like a zombie. All that he wanted was to be close to me. He didn't want to drink beer anymore. If I wanted to go to the toilet, we had an outside toilet. You will be there, my brother, whilst I'll be sitting on the toilet seat doing my poo, and you will be there waiting for me. It started irritating me. Wherever I wanted to be, you will be there with me. And on the same side, that other boyfriend of mine, he was now giving me a lot of pressure and a lot of pressure. Whenever he would want to be with me, he would just drive his car. Then he would come and he would say, I am parked by your gate. If you do not come out right now, I am going to get out of my car and I am going to come in there into your room, and I am going to kill you. I will kill your husband and I will kill myself. This is what he used to say, and I felt so afraid. It seemed as if these 2 guys, they were now confused, because as for those women, they started teaching me a lot of different styles. They were teaching me things like, if I will be going to visit that boyfriend of mine, I would take some ice blocks. After taking those ice blocks, I would push them into my private parts so that the size can be reduced, so that by the time that you will be sleeping with me, you can feel really good. And there were some herbs that they used to give me, and these herbs I used to rub them on my private parts. And the first thing that I would do when I would have reached his house, I would ask to go and use the bathroom. After going to the bathroom, then I would rub off the oil that will be all over my private parts. And when I would go back into his bedroom, the first thing that I would do is that I would use that hand that I would have used whilst I'll be in the bathroom. I would rub his face just like that. And I think that all of these love charms that I was using on my husband as well on my boyfriend, they started to make them to be more like zombies. All they wanted, my brother, was to be with me at all the times. And when I went there, he then gave me some of the money that he had taken from his bonus, and it was quite a lot. I then took that money and I stole the money from my husband. When I had stolen that money, I then returned back home, and this was with the knowledge of my mother. She even encouraged me to come back home because she knew that me and my husband, we had been fighting a lot. She then said, if you come back home, you can start your own business of selling baby diapers. I then returned back home, and I then started going to Mozambique and buying those baby diapers and selling them off. And ever since I came back home, my brother, I've never returned back to South Africa. But this story, it pains me a lot, because as for my husband, I don't know what he felt the day that I ran away from him. I took all the money that he had. With the money that we had kept that was in the house, I just stole that money and I never looked back. I just imagine the kind of pain that he felt when he found out that his wife had stolen the money that he thought we were going to use when we would have returned back home. As for my boyfriend, he knew that he was dating another man's wife, but I feel so sorry for the father of my child.